Okay, I'm going to talk about these psychotic individuals all around killing their hostages. I'd like to get your opinion. I'll wait till some people get on. And if you go to my website, you can, I don't know if I can invite you through here. Go to Alan Best and you can have a discussion with me. So far, I don't have anybody. You can send me texts, comments. Honey, give me your phone. I'll show you how to do it. Or give me my other phone. You can get on. Oh, I have somebody. Hello, greetings. What are your thoughts about how these terrorists are killing the hostages? This is the current news, what's going on in Israel or in Gaza. Please leave a comment below. I'm watching the news. They got cut off. They left. I had one person and then they left. Greetings. Please feel free to leave a comment below about your opinion on the war in the Gaza Strip and in Israel. It's a very difficult situation that's going on. And I'm trying to create, I guess, maybe a daily podcast. And I don't know what to do about it, what the people of the world could do about it. You know, what is it that these people, why are they killing people? Why are they killing hostages? What kind of mentality do they have? Please feel free. I see another person just joined. Please feel free to leave a comment below. Why do they have this mentality to kill Jewish people? I read a while back about the Nazi regime sent some kind of sheikh who wasn't even Muslim and Arab to the Arab nations to continue their cleansing of Jewish people. Why do they have this mentality? Why is there so much evil in this world? Why is Russia continuously fighting Ukraine? You know, why is there so much evil in this world? Feel free to leave a comment below. I see people are coming and going. I had 2 people, then 3 people, but that's okay. I don't know who's staying or who's going, but I'd like to make a daily podcast live, but I don't know how to go about doing it. I'm trying my best with all my previous podcasts, and if you have any suggestions, feel free to leave it below. So I asked my wife to join in on the conversation, and she doesn't want to. Anna, please give me a hand here. Help me with this podcast. What's your opinion, Ann? Put on the news. We could all watch the news together.
I want to know why so many people don't. Okay, if Hitler was, when Hitler was losing the war and Germany was being destroyed,
Hello, MNB. I see you've joined me in the past. Thank you for coming.
he killed himself, right? Why doesn't Sinawar understand
I don't know if you
that
can hear
he's
my wife.
destroying the Palestinian people? He's destroying their homes, their livelihood, because he doesn't understand that he's basically losing the war.
I don't know if you can hear my wife. I can't. I'm sitting here next to her. I can hear clearly about what she's saying. Anyway, it's a struggle. You know, I live in a neighborhood in Staten Island, New York, fairly safe neighborhood. Sri Lanka. Right now, I'm in Staten Island, New York, and fairly safe neighborhood. Last night, I went out for a 20-minute walk, and I saw this big, heavy-set black guy, very muscular, asking me for money. He looked like he was handicapped, and you know, I walked out in my shorts just for a 20-minute walk and my sandals, and I wasn't able to walk fast, you know, but it scared me. He says, "Do you have any money?" And he gave me a fist pump, like a fist handshake instead of a fist shake. Instead of handshake, a fist, shake. The newest routine now when it comes to handshakes, and it scared me. And years ago, I was thinking about getting a. I mean, years ago, in one of my banks that I dealt with, um, I said I was thinking about opening up my own business. And she said, the teller said to me, "Oh, we're going to give you $300 if you open up a checking account, business checking account." Now, I had until a certain day to do that, and I wasn't sure what to name it. And my friend at the time was trying to give me some suggestions on what to name it. And I had the last day that uh, I had a deadline. I had one more day to do it, and I couldn't sleep. And I was thinking about getting some peace of mind and going to sleep. And I said, "That's it. I'll call it Peace Now." And Prosperous Future. That was the name of the LLC that I started. And so I thought, what could I do? Yeah, I did call the police, but they didn't want to come by, and I didn't want them to come to my house. I just wanted to go to sleep, but they didn't want to come by. Well, actually, the lady on the dispatch didn't want to send a cruiser to look for the guy. But I decided to call my name Peace Now, Prosperous Future, and I've been trying to develop a website called the Millionaire Mind and Peace Now, Prosperous Future on people becoming a millionaire, and this is one of the things I'm working on. So, would you like me to stream into the news, MND? I could do that.
Make no mistake, Hamas leaders will pay for these crimes there. And again, we do still have live right now, even though we do not have the for Prime Minister Netanyahu speaking about this as well as where they are at right now in this war. In translation or any type of remarks there, we will pass that along to you live now from Fox Everyone. In the meantime, I do want to continue to talk about the crisis in the Middle East right now, and again, go out to UK Parliament for their discussion on the war in Gaza.
We all want the terrible suffering of both the Israeli and Palestinian people to end. It does feel as if at a point where this conflict could go in two radically different directions. While the region is a potential conflagration, it is also possible that cooler heads on all sides might prevail. Britain's role must be to help facilitate a sustainable end to the current suffering. It is only then that we can achieve our aim of lifting people's eyes to the prospect of a different horizon in the future.
First Secretary. Well, I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker, to the Shadow Foreign Secretary for the tone of his response. He will know so many questions. And it's right that the House.
Yeah, MNB, in answer to your question, I'm not from Israel, but I know people who live there.
And said that he was concerned that Israel had violated international humanitarian law, that the Shadow Foreign Secretary himself has repeatedly called on Israel to abide by international humanitarian law, and said that certain actions that they may not have applied with international humanitarian law. In April, the Shadow Minister, the Honourable Member for Rutland and Stafford, who was in her seat slightly earlier, had no choice but to suspend arms. So he can recognise not a partisan issue, and I'm very grateful for the tone that he's taken in this debate. I have provided the House with a summary today on the issue, the way that I have made the assessment, and indeed in doing so, I have been more transparent than any government has been in the past about decisions like this. I recognise the exceptional public interest there is in this debate. He's right, like me, to underline that there is no moral equivalence between Hamas, who began the on October.
No, MNB, that's a very intelligent. That's fine.
Of those hostages out and defending itself, even though that I have said that there is a clear risk in relation to our export licensing regime. He's right to talk about the context in Lebanon, support indeed the government's message, the National League, and let me assure him that I have not just visited Lebanon now on many occasions, but spoken to the Lebanese Prime Minister on 3 occasions just in the last few weeks. In the West Bank, we recognise the importance of that we see these actions being prosecuted over the last few days, and we call for deep. Successive foreign secretaries now have raised it directly with Prime Minister Netanyahu that not enough trucks are getting in, and it's still the case today, after 11 months of conflict, that not enough trucks are getting in.
I'm not sure if I totally understand what this guy is saying. Did he say that England doesn't want to send any more military equipment to Israel? Is that what he's saying? Did I hear him correctly?
Can be vaccinated against polio. We have that clause in place, I think, between 8 a.m. and 2 a.m. Or 2 p.m. In the afternoon, so that you can get the vaccination you need for their dose. John Buck.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Secretary of State, for your important statement today. It is clear, and I agree with the Shadow Minister, that Hamas has no humanity and no shame. Some have said that there's only a pause to vaccinate children because polio may be on Gaza. With so many children killed in this war, I understand why some may say that. The World Health Organization says that at least 90% of children under 10 must be immunized in a very short period of time. With that in mind, Can the Secretary of State please tell the House what measures this government is taking to ensure further agreements are made to have a pause for as long as possible that both sides can adhere to?
I'm grateful to my honourable friend, and I was very pleased to meet with the member for Oxford East with Dr. Tedros, who leads the World Health Organization, to discuss.
When you have an organization like Hamas, who their goal is to kill as many Israelis as possible.
Jews, not just Israel.
My wife said Jews, but when you have a country like Iran that wants to wipe Israel off the face of the map,
Jews, all Jews.
what is it? What is Israel supposed to do? You know, in the early 2000s, they had suicide bombers bombing buses of Jewish people. They had suicide bombers. My cousin was in a coffee shop when a bomb blew up. Discotheques that killed innocent Jewish people in discotheques, or one discotheque. What is Israel supposed to do to protect themselves from people who just want to kill them?
Schools, playgrounds, camps.
My wife is talking, it's hard to hear her. Anyway, so what is a country like Israel supposed to do to prevent these people from wanting to kill them? President Trump, before he became president, before he was even winning the primary, said when Hamas was teaching their children in nursery school, kindergarten, to kill all Jewish people. In kindergarten, they're teaching them. So Trump said, you know what, I'm not going to give them any money anymore. And what does Biden do? He gives the money back to the Palestinians. How is Israel supposed to protect themselves? Let me read what MNB said. Yeah, confusing. Also, my country, we more likable to Israel during the war because Palestine and Hamas are popular as terrorists in our area. What do you think about that? Again, what country are you from again? Sri Lanka. You have the similar problems in Sri Lanka? You know, when they wanted to have Netanyahu arrested for war crimes, and I guess what court was that? International Criminal Court. And good thing Biden said, no, I'm not going to go for that. You know, we're having an election here in a couple of months. Who knows go on when the new president is elected in January? You know, and then you have this war in Russia and Ukraine. Who knows what's going on? You know, Russia is threatening nuclear war. What a joke. Anyway, let's go back to listening to what England said.
Families, as I have continued to do. She's right to raise the issues on the West Bank. We are deeply concerned by the ongoing IDF military operation in the occupied West Bank and the attacks from Palestinian militants. We recognise, of course, the need to defend itself, Israel's need to defend itself against security by the methods that Israel's employed and by reports of civilian casualties and the destruction of civilian infrastructure, particularly. It's in no one's interest to further conflict and instability to spread that to the West Bank. We dare the settler expansion, the record levels that we've seen this year particularly and of course the increase in settler violence. And I condemn the language that's been used by ministers in the Israeli government, Smodrik, Ben-Gvir, particularly in relation to this. It's entirely unacceptable language and should be condemned by the government or the Israeli government as a whole. She raises important issues and she recognises, of course, in terms of labelling, we do label in relation to goods from certain.
Oh, he's condemning the Israeli language, but when Hamas said recently that they should have more suicide bombers, why isn't he condemning that?
Violence in the West Bank has led to the reported deaths of Palestinians and increased settler violence, resulting in illegal occupation and violent land theft. Amid this escalation, the US has imposed sanctions on Israeli groups. Medical Aid Palestine have claimed the
Illegal occupation? I don't think so.
Can the Foreign Secretary clarify the issue and what immediate actions the government will be taking other than condemnation of this action?
Foreign Secretary. Mr. Speaker, can I reassure my honourable friend that we are keeping this under review? We are in dialogue with our closest allies on this issue, and we will not flinch in dealing with the issues at hand if we need to.
Sir Julian Lewis. Can the Foreign Secretary assure the House that what appears to be a carefully calibrated response to a dreadful situation will not in any way impair the valuable cooperation between Israel and the United Kingdom, where the sharing of intelligence about international terrorist activity is concerned? Foreign Secretary.
Well, the right honourable gentleman is amongst the very few in this House who understand the breadth and depth and importance for our own national security of that relationship. People-to-people relationship with Israel. 250 nationals here in this country. We have a very important trading relationship with Israel, but the cooperation on intelligence, military security is essential, not just to our national interests, but to the global security of much of the world. And so I've made this decision with regret. It's in sorrow, not in anger. And he will understand that others, in fact, the Conservative governments, have gone for a full arms race. We have not done that today because we recognise with Hezbollah, with the Houthis, with Hamas, it is right that Israel has the means to defend it.
Mr. Speaker.
Okay, so there's arms embargo from, that's great.
Important point, which is this is not an arms embargo on Israel. We continue to support Israel's right to defend itself and continue to sell it arms, but that the rules underpinning control of arms are as they have always been, which is that the UK will not permit the sale of arms if they might be used for internal repression or international aggression. And for that reason, we have cut the number of arms export licenses by 30.
Secretary of State.
Well, my right honourable friend.
What did she say?
She said they cut the armaments by 30.
I can't understand. Can you hear her? I don't know.
By 30%, they've cut the armaments.
Is she anti-arms? All right, let's listen to what he says.
That we have sought, and it amounts to around 30 that we have sought to suspend. It's of course our sincere hope that we get to that ceasefire and the sustained position that will allow us, of course, to resume working in the way that we would normally work with.
Hirsch Gilbo-Polin in Jerusalem, and it's a terrible tragedy that his name has joined the list of many thousands of innocents who died in this conflict over the last few months on both sides. The state will know that I've been long concerned about West Bank, and I understand that the measures he's taken today
indeed sanctions generally, are not purely performative. He wants them to have some bite. So I wanted to ask you about the case of Hilltop Youth. This organisation, violent secular organisation, was sanctioned by the previous government earlier this year and was recently terrorists by the head of the Internal Security Service in Israel. And yet our sanctions seemingly have had no impact on their behaviour or their conduct and the violent persecution that they're visiting upon innocent Palestinians in the West Bank. Will he consider extending our sanctions to those who support and sustain this organisation and others, both within Israel and externally? Because if we're going to be taken seriously on the international stage, whether it's in Iran, in the case of Iran, or these violent organisations, our measures have to have bite and effect. And at the moment, seemingly, they aren't.
Foreign Secretary. Well, the right honourable gentleman who has raised these issues consistently in this House now is absolutely right to draw focus on what is happening on the West Bank. And that is not because of the immediate violence that we've seen over the last 2 days. It's because the level of violence, the sense of impunity that one sees when one is in the West Bank is of huge concern. Can I reassure him that I continue to work with allies and I continue to keep these matters under close review?
Andy Bagdon. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank the Foreign Secretary for his statement. I speak as a long-term friend of Palestine and an advocate of a two-state solution. I'm sure he'll agree with me the release of hostages. We want to see all hostages released in their hundreds and thousands. I'm asking particularly what assessment he's made of the impact of his suspension of 30 of these licenses, because Israel has shown little sign of responding to pressure from the outside world. And along with the Oxford and Abingdon, what further steps is he prepared to take? Because we see in the West Bank these egregious behaviours, and is it really conscionable that Israel is going to respond in a favourable way to the limited but welcome announcement that he's made today?
Foreign Secretary. What can I say to my little friend? I know the strength with which he talks about these issues and has talked consistently about them over many years. Let me just make clear that the announcement, Mr. Speaker, that I make today follows a process. It's a process that was set up by the in 2021. We have followed that process to the law, and that is why I'm here today. It is in no way to punish Israel. That is not the point of the process. It is to make sure that our export licensing regime remains amongst the very robust in the world. And I recognise what he says about the West Bank particularly, and it's why I went to the region a few weeks ago once again.
Brendan O'Hara. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Foreign Secretary for prior sight of the statement. And of course, we welcome anything which reduces the appalling death toll in Gaza and increasingly, sadly, in the West Bank. But this leaves so many questions which I will to the Foreign Secretary about later. But could I press him on the issue of the UK recognising that the Netanyahu use of UK weapons poses a clear risk of the violation of international humanitarian law? You'll be aware that there is no legal definition between what is an offensive weapon and what is a defensive weapon. So why and on what basis, if there is, in his words, a clear risk of the violation of international humanitarian law, why has he not imposed a blanket ban on Israel until that risk has gone away completely?
If you do that, then give the green light to Hamas to continue their war against innocent civilians in Israel. That's a stupid question on that guy's part.
All right, everyone, we have been listening there to the UK Parliament from earlier, talking about the crisis in the Middle East. And we'll continue to give you the latest updates right here from everyone. We are going to take a 2-minute break, our first one of the hour. When we come back, we'll take you out live to San Francisco, where thousands of hotel workers are leaving right now on strike. It's including major cities like Boston, San Francisco, and San Jose.
Joke, I was there a while, but I went to Riverside, California, and there were a lot of drug addicts. I signature stations, and these drug addicts would come up to the store where I was working. And, I hear it got a lot worse. Homeless people, drug addicts living in tents, and it's like insane. And I hear they're doing that in San Francisco, and I haven't been there quite a while. I was there once or twice about 10 years ago, and it wasn't like that at all. Anyway, it looks like a lot of people left. I think whoever is staying, there's 2 people left here. But feel free to leave a comment below. So I'd like to get my wife in on this conversation, but she doesn't want to cooperate. She's listening to her French lessons. And I wish she would stop with some respect to this podcast that I'm trying to implement over here. But I'm going to take a break, and I will come back again as soon as the time is right. So thank you all for joining. So I'm going to cut out now. It's been 32 minutes since I started this podcast live. So leave a comment below. Even after I leave, I will post this as soon as it uploads. Thank you again for watching and coming in. Oh, I see more people are coming in now. Anna, what do you think about Israel situation? I have 9 people joining. Anna, here. Go ahead.
No, I'm not. My hair is a mess.
No, you're not
No,
live. You're
no.
not live. I'm not putting you on live. You don't want to get on. All right, I'll come back later. Unless you guys want to watch what's going on in San Francisco. I guess I'll put it on if you guys want to watch it.
Bay and Seattle. This active rally strike is going on right now in San Francisco live. Let's listen from Fox.
It is filled with people like yourselves, people up on the stage, amazing organizers. The thing is, there have been numerous billionaires and corporations who have raided all of our pockets, who have done, have record profits during the pandemic, and in the wake of continue with the same wages. It's more expensive to get groceries, more expensive to pay rent, more expensive to travel. It is the absolute bare minimum that you all get what you're fighting and the weeks to come. We will be right beside you, and thank you so much.
We have some great allies in our city among elected officials or folks who are going to be elected officials. We have great support in the labor movement, very strong here in San Francisco, Bay Area. So we are only as strong as our brothers all over North America who are also standing up and fighting alongside us. This fight is not a fight in one city. It's a fight all over the United States. And I want to invite up a great leader of our union, our International Union Secretary, a longtime leader of our local in Detroit, our sister Nia Winston, to say a few words.
I'm the new Secretary-Treasurer of the International Union, former leader of the Detroit and Ohio local for 25 years. As I look at
Are we prepared for something like that, Lieutenant?
I don't believe we're prepared right now, but I've got to tell you, who wants to get the job done? That's your law enforcement agents. I mean, police officers, local, state police, and they're fine and wonderful people on Secret Service and FBI. They want to get the job done. But you know why they can't get the job done? Because the politicians are not committed to get the job done. What have we heard over and over again? Defund the police, get rid of their equipment. They don't need to do this. We're afraid we're going to offend people. Well, don't worry about offending the bad guys. Help the good guys. That's why I say go back to the basics, find out where money's going with regard to training, what kind of training's being done, and let's get back to where we were years ago when you could go to a rally, you could be safe, you could be sound, and you'd be absolutely secure time during these events.
Yeah, you kind of have to have your head on a swivel anywhere you go these days, Lieutenant. I've got less than a minute left, but any advice to those out there that have a rally coming to a town near them that are planning to go? Any advice as they go to these rallies, what to be looking out for?
Well, if you see something, don't hesitate to say anything. Make sure that you say something to somebody. I'm sure there'll be a lot of law enforcement there. So keep your eyes and ears open. And I always say this, keep this country in prayer. We're a great country. And we've got a lot of good things coming in the future. So just keep us in prayer and let's hope that God will be well.
So there at the Pennsylvania rally for Donald Trump on Friday. This is the first I'm hearing about it.
Appreciate you being with us today. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, don't go anywhere. There's still a lot more national desk after this. Stay with us.
No.
Of people on a concentrated schedule and spews them into a city like a tidal wave and then sucks them out and leaves.
Hart lived in Juneau since she was a little kid and says the influx of people is inescapable. Cruise ships stopped in Juneau more than 700 times in 2023, with nearly 1.7 million passengers, up 74% from a decade ago.
All of the areas that the locals used to go to sport fish, to kayak, is all blanketed by whale watching boats.
Hoping for a day of rest, she started an initiative called Ship.
As long as people are still here, I'll keep
this
video going and watch different
passengers from docking
news stations.
Once a week, and on the 4th of July. People will vote on it October 1st.
This is bad for our family. It's bad for our community.
McHugh Pierre is the chair of Protect Juneau's Future, a group campaigning against the initiative, worried the local economy will take a big hit. After all, the cruise industry was responsible for more than $300 million in spending in Juneau last year, and nearly 4,000 jobs.
We expect there would be about 400 direct tourism-related jobs that would go away. And, businesses would shut down on Saturday. There's no reason to be open for local. There's not enough people.
The city's already taking steps to limit cruise ships. Saturdays. For those who feel the soul of the city is at stake.
Juneau was before it became just an exploited extension of the cruise ships. We know what we had and we want it back.
Allison Barber, NBC News.
Allison, thank you. Coming up, a first look at a rare country music collection decades in the making. But first, time for today's daily snapshot of with the U.S. Open, but not the kind we hoped for. 20-year-old Coco Gauff, one of the biggest stars in American tennis and currently ranked the third best women tennis player in the world, was knocked out of the semifinal yesterday. Tennis icon Novak Djokovic was also ousted, which makes this the first year since 2017 he will not walk away with a Grand Slam title. More NBC News Daily coming up after this.
Oh, this is live. Crown Heights, we were just there last week.
It's impossible to drive over there today.
neighbouring countries. Mpox had been circulating in the DRC since January last year, but only became a grave concern this January when scientists did a worrying new mutation.
This pipe shouldn't have crude oil pooling in it.
As you can see, yes, that's live crude oil.
Hawk Dunlap is a 3-decade veteran of oil fields around the world.
This pipe is loose. It's free moving, which indicates there's no cement section as well. The surface casing has corrosion holes in it.
And he's become one of the most vocal critics of the regulatory body that oversees oil and gas operations in Texas. It's called the Railroad Commission, or RRC.
So basically, the Railroad Commission came out, plugged this well, taxpayer money, under the Orphan Well program, and this well is plugged. This is the kind of job they're doing all over the state of Texas.
The RRC stepped to plug orphan wells when there is no solvent owner of record. Dunlap says there's an epidemic of low-quality jobs left behind by operators and contractors that were approved by the group. He and his lawyer partner have recorded over 100 legacy or orphan wells that have been listed as properly plugged, but that are leaking.
Halfway down the road.
This sprawling ranch in West Texas has 30 abandoned wells that have not been productive since the 1980s. This is one of those so-called zombie wells. Here's where Lord breaks.
So this land, even though I pay property taxes on it and my animals utilize it, we have a leaking well in the middle of it that we have to put on hold until it leaks bad enough that we can get it plugged.
The longer you wait to plug a well like this, the more expensive it's going to be.
The Permian Basin is the largest oil field in the U.S., overlying Texas. It's home to the latest fracking-led drilling boom. Every day, wells there accumulate about 24 million barrels of produced water, the salty mixture that comes up alongside oil and gas. That's according to a consultancy that says between 40 to 55% of that water goes into local disposal wells. Dunlap says pressure on wastewater could be causing the badly plugged wells to burst. Days later at the Briggs Ranch, there's been an explosion at a separate well, less than 1,000 feet from her house.
This truck is backing up. They call it a vacuum truck, and it's going to suck up what's coming out of the well, because it can't stop what's coming out of the well. And then he's going to take it off and dump it into a saltwater disposal well, which is why these wells are leaking.
The RRC has pushed back on the assertion that wastewater pressure causing leaks or blows is widespread. A spokesperson said it prioritizes plugging, quote, high-risk, high-priority wells. The regulatory body has documented over 8,500 orphan wells in Texas, although experts estimate there could be thousands more that are not documented and ineligible for fracking. The RRC has estimated it will need around $480 million to plug its wells. It plans to plug 2,000 of them this year with state funds. Federally, the RRC says it's used up a $25 million initial grant from a 2022 program and is tapping into a separate $8 million it got in January. A spokesperson told Reuters the agency is, quote, compliant with federal requirements to measure the amount of methane and other gases leaking from plugged wells before and after plugging. Meanwhile, a Texas watchdog group has filed a federal complaint alleging mismanagement of the RRC. And the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency has said it will look at whether the RRC authority should be revoked. As for Dunlap, he says he'd like to take matters into his own hands. He's running a long-shot campaign to win an RRC seat and hopes to create change from within.
I spent 27 years roaming the earth, and and, lauding the fact that Texas does it bigger and better than everybody else. So you have to understand that when we started excavating and we started investigating and trying to work with the regulators to let them know that there was a problem here and that it needed to be addressed, and they turned to it. It was quite a bit of a gut punch for me. I've always thought our state does things better, and
I don't totally understand what they were saying. Anna, do you?
Yes.
Why do they want to plug up the wells?
Because that's the initiative of the Biden administration to get rid of fossil
Oh, that's
fuels.
from the Environmental Protection Agency.
Some of the wells are not in compliance.
Something to do a little bit more research on. Which reminds me of, we were listening to a radio station about the copper mines in Peru, where the people in Peru are demonstrating to shut them down because it's poisoning their water. In the meantime, they're saying that the copper that they're using is good for solar, which will use a lot less fossil fuels, but it's ruining the environment. Also, the copper is used in AI generation of, what do we call it? That they put into the computer chips. So, which is better? Mining copper or solar when it ruins the environment? I don't know. Anyway, I put the phone down so now I see I still have 4 people watching this. We're all staying here, and my wife doesn't care in her videos. She doesn't care about interrupting my videos. Anyway, so thank you for watching. I think I'm going to take a break and see you guys another time. And feel free to leave a comment. Wow, I got 8 people now. Wow, this is great. Anyway, I'm going to take a break. Thank you all for watching. I'm going to leave a copy of this video when I get a chance, when it finishes uploading. Again, thank you all for watching.